Dynamite man, you dynamite man. Hey, what's up, everybody? Today, I'm supposed to show y'all how to do hip exercises. All right. Here's hip exercise number 1. You go like this. So if somebody's talking to you, I guess, I don't know, they didn't tell me, but when you do, you got to do like this. And then the next time when you're walking down,
not hip exercises, hip.
Rhonda, if you would leave me alone for a minute, I'm trying to teach them how to do some hip exercises. Guys, that's just a little introduction to get your attention or to make you leave. So, hip exercises. First of all, you might want to know, why are we worried about our hips? Well, the hip is one of the most important joints in our body. You've got to keep it strong. You've got to keep it flexible. If you do, for example, too much sitting, if you spend a lot of time in a chair, especially a wheelchair, and you sit like this a lot without stretching your hips out, these muscles in front get a little bit tight, and before you know it, you'll try to stand up. And you can't go up any higher than that. You don't want that to happen, because then you start getting all kinds of balance problems. So one of the first things I'll look at, especially if somebody comes to me and says they're afraid they may fall down, I'll look at their hips. And if they can't fully extend and even go back a little bit past the neutral, we call it, then I get you guys started with some hip flexibility movements. Here's one of the best ones. When you're sitting in a chair like this, all you've got to do is reach one foot down behind you like this and try to touch your heel. That's all you've got to do. And you get this nice stretch here. I've got a little food left over from lunch, sorry. You get a little stretch here to the front of your hip. You do it to both sides, left side and right side. Nice little stretch. You can see how I'm kind of pumping it like this. There's some thought that once you get kind of to your end range where it gets tight, if you pump it a little bit, it helps stretch a little better. So that's one way to do that hip stretch. Here's another way to do it, because I love hamburgers. Some days I want a cheeseburger. I like a little change. So you're going to learn how to do more than one way to stretch your hip. So if you're laying in bed and you can reach the floor, just let that leg drop off like that. Before you know it, you got a nice little stretch to the front of your hip. And then once again, a little movement really gets those muscles nice and ready to stretch if you move them a little bit. Now, if you've had some kind of hip surgery, be sure and talk to me first. There are some hip replacement surgeries especially that you would want to clear with me or your orthopedic physician or Dr. Heidemann first, or Tim, or any of the PCPs. So that is 2 simple ways to stretch your hip. In addition to that, it's nice to get that ball and socket joint in there. That's your hip socket. It's nice to get it moving and get it lubricated, because our joints really don't lubricate themselves unless you move them. So one of the things I'll tell people is, before they get out of bed, when they're lying there thinking about their day and all their fun things they're going to do, maybe they're coming to pace, maybe they're going to watch their favorite TV shows, but as they're clicking the toes together in bed for that joint range of motion, I've shown you 2 ways to stretch your hips. Now, I want to show you a nice, good strengthening exercise you can do anywhere. And here's what you do. Just sit here, nice, good posture. Look at the rim. If you want to get the camera on my back here, you'll see I've got it kind of at a nice neutral spine. I'm not slumped over. And you take your leg and you raise them one at a time. You can raise them both at the same time. It's really becomes a good core strengthener. For some people, it can hurt their backs a little bit. So if you want to do that way, check with me first. But a nice, safe way to do it for anybody, really. Again, unless you've had hip surgery, talk to me before you do this exercise. If you've had hip surgery, even still, most people can do this one. So just up and down. I recommend getting a metronome going, listening to music, something to give you a good beat to try to follow, because anytime you follow a beat precisely, it does magical things to your brain. To make it a little bit harder, and if you have something nearby that you can do this on, one of the things I tell people to do is you pick 2 marks on say, a piece of furniture. Like on this chair, I'll pick this corner and that corner, and I'll flex my foot from one to the other and try to be precise with my movement. See, I'm not just going up and down. I'm making sure that I hit that same mark every time. Same with the other leg. You can do one foot and then the other foot. Just like when you hear that metronome makes you do precise movement. Similarly, picking a point makes you do a precise movement that really adds that extra oomph to your hip strengthening. Adding both that and the metronome, and then you're getting the full package. So you, Remy, can you perhaps with your finger snapping create a metronome? You got good beat? So there I was both tapping my foot against the chair at a predetermined spot in conjunction with that beat Remy was creating. Thanks, Remy. Mm-hmm. I hope that's enough to get you guys going for a good hip exercise session. You've got 2 stretches, you've got some range of motion exercises you can do for your hips, and a really good hip exercise. Of course, if you have any questions, you can call me at PACE 443-9747, extension 3212.